Hey,
Hey.
it froze up on my end, or I don't know if it froze up. I mean, your screen froze up. So I'm sitting there talking to myself. I'm like, is this me? Am I frozen on like a really awkward position?
I got the message that it was paused, and I was just like, okay, why is it paused? Live video paused.
Yes,
Um, so beautiful day in sunny California.
yes, it is. It's a gorgeous day out here. It's a gorgeous day out here, and it's quite warm. And yeah, but it's beautiful, sunny. The whole thing.
Nice. So we've been kind of tagging back and forth a bit, trying to kind of get things going. It's and my apologies because things have gotten quite busy on my end too. That it just kind of like got away from me. But I'm really glad that we're doing this because
Yeah,
the current single, which I call so transformation
yes,
technically is the current single, but
yes,
the song that everyone is hearing is Be the Truth.
yes,
Hashtag Be the Truth.
yes. Hashtag be
Um,
the truth.
because of that video. So for anybody who's watching, first of all, this is Gattison, artist from California. Um, Gattison has a new song out called Transformation, which is fantastic. But also, Gattison has a video out, and it's kind of like a protest art video. You had a lot of people submit things from around the world after everything kind of blew up, and rightfully so,
Yeah,
with the Black Lives Matter movement. And you put your song "Be the Truth" is the song that is through it, and it starts off with Obama, and in such a wonderful piece that he's talking about. So starting from all that, you released Transformation, and that's
yes,
about a month ago.
yeah. About a month and a half ago, I released Transformation, which was right. It was kind of an awkward timing because we literally finished the music video the day before everything shut down. So it was just this weird, and when we first went into shutdown, or at least me, I kind of was like, oh, it'll be shut down for like maybe a couple weeks, a month max, and we'll kind of go back to normal. And that just was not the case. And so it was just this kind of weird, awkward transition. But Transformation is my baby, and I love Transformation, and I'm so proud of it. And it was my first music video, so really excited about that. And then when everything started happening, I just felt like I needed to say something, and I felt like I needed to respond, and I felt like I needed to, and I had a responsibility as an artist to reflect the times. And so that's how Be the Truth came about, and we completed that song. Sorry, song in about a week and a half. We got it out from recording the vocals, the video, mastering, mixing, all that kind of stuff, and then push it out. So Melinda Hale is one of the artists on it. She's in here now, I think, and Sasha Them. It was a really cool piece.
It's not that it's just that it's cool. It's
Mhm.
very moving. It's very powerful.
Mhm.
The messaging that is in there is so on point. But then so is the song. Like the
Mhm.
song really is. It's less of a song and it's
Mhm.
more of a rallying cry.
Yes.
It really is an anthem for movement.
Yes.
And if people hear it, I hope that they take stock and they listen to the actual song. Because if you listen to the words in the song and what you're
Yeah.
talking and what you're saying, and from the start right to the end, you get to that point in the song when you're talking about, it's our time. We have to. If we're
Yeah.
not, if we're remaining silent in a movement like this,
Yeah.
we're enabling what's
Yep.
happening.
Absolutely.
So, and it's so it's a strange time, but
Mhm.
it's a great time. It sounds
Yeah.
terrible. It doesn't sound like
Yeah.
there's anything great about it, but it is a great time
Yeah. Yeah.
simply
Yeah.
because artists like yourself, artists like, I mean, I see Mila Jam out there all the time, and they're out there and you're getting recognition in a real weird way, but it's an
Yeah.
important way.
Yeah.
And that you're being heard. So, and I mean, when you think about people like myself, and what we do, and anybody who's out there, our time is now.
Yeah.
To be vehicles, to be supporters, to be, not just speak for people, but to actually speak up.
Right. 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 Yeah. It's a very interesting time. I think that, when I think about 2020 and I think about everything that's happened in this year so far, I'm blown away. I am shocked. I've felt so many emotions. I tell people that I felt like I've just been on this emotional roller coaster. And half of the time I didn't really know how to really feel. And it was just, it was a lot. And I think the best way for me to process through it all was, one, to be able to kind of talk to people around me and just kind of without a filter and just kind of express my heart. But then I think the other way for me was just to put it into song, right? To put it into art. And like there's a lyric in Be the Truth that says, justice found is love defined. And this idea of like, until we establish true justice, until we establish, equality and equity for all people, we will not be able to truly say that we embrace or embody love, right? Because I think love in its purest form is the application of justice. And so I am adamant about using my platform. I'm adamant about using my gift, my skill, and as far as music and art to communicate those things. And, I'm not done yet. I have some more things that I need to say and that we're working on right now and putting together in musical form. So I'm really excited.
And I two things that you kind of said there. One is that, you're not done yet. It's like, I don't see any of us being done for a time.
Yeah.
And I think that, the initial wave has subsided into work.
Right.
But it's not gone anywhere. And
Right.
people need to remember that, just because things have gotten a little bit quieter,
right,
doesn't mean that the issue's gone away. Doesn't mean that something's
Right.
been solved or cured. It hasn't.
Right.
And the same thing keeps happening repetitively
Yeah.
with all of these things, whether it's Me Too, whether
Yep.
it's, from homophobia or transphobia, whether it's Black lives. These things, it's kind of like, there's a burst because there's anger involved and there's hurt and there's so much emotion involved.
Right.
And then people think like, oh, it's over now because it's gotten quiet. No, it's just that it's just that the work has to happen.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it's gone away. The second thing that you said is, and I think a lot of people make a mistake, and it's what you said, so you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but people make a mistake sometimes and they don't really understand what equity is, right?
Right.
They think equity and equality are, interchangeable, which they're not. They're very different. They have, foundations of the same, but it's about that education of what true equity means.
Right. Absolutely. And I really feel like, it's our job right now to personally take responsibility for our education in these areas. And I think it's beautiful to, in some ways, as an artist, be able to, paint a picture. But at the same time, I try to walk this line and toe this line of, I don't want to give, not force feed, but I don't want to give everything away. Like, I think there's something about taking ownership and saying, if I don't know something, then it's on me to take responsibility for my ignorance and to seek out truth. And so I try in my art and with the art that's coming out and all that kind of stuff to not necessarily say, this is exactly what it is. I'm going to kind of create a mood for you. I'm going to create you know, curiosity to me is the best thing that I can create, the best emotion that I can try to evoke out of somebody who's listening to my art, because my whole point is to try to get you curious enough, or to move you or motivate you enough to where you take responsibility for your education and for your ignorance, and keep moving forward. Because I think that's what's going to help everything stick, is if we personally take responsibility for educating our minds and doing something different.
It does have to start with the self, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people need to give themselves permission to not know. Not everybody understands
Right.
everything. Not everybody knows it.
Right.
You know, ignorance. If people freak out with that word, it doesn't mean that you're rude, and that's
Right.
what people think, that you're doing something wrong. It just means
Right.
that you're unaware and you're not educated on a
Right.
specific topic.
Right.
Give yourself the freedom and the room to know that you can't know everything.
Right.
But also take responsibility that when you
Right.
know you don't know enough,
Right.
to educate yourself, so that
Right.
you can become an ally that way,
Mm-hmm.
by
Absolutely.
taking it on.
Absolutely. And I think there's freedom in understanding that concept, that we don't know everything, and that's okay. And it's not to just because you don't know something, or just because you're ignorant about a topic, doesn't mean that you're evil. And I think that, or you have some malice or some type of whatever in your heart, that you are intentionally trying to inflict harm or perpetuate a system. But once you start to enter into a dialogue, and you try to act as though you know what you don't know, then now you become a part of the problem. So I think there's freedom in just being like, you know what, there's just something that I don't know, and let me ask some questions, and let me research, and let me do some things to try to bring some education to myself.
And I think too, the other side of that too is that, you know, it, when I said, you know, that responsibility is on us,
Yeah.
to look into things. It's not your fault. It's not your, you know, you set out in life to be in a certain place,
Right.
to not be taught things, or to be taught, you know, improperly, or maybe only one side and
Right.
somebody else's bad experience.
Right.
But we're all three free thinking individuals.
Absolutely.
You do have the ability to look on the other side. If somebody told me that, you know, something is yellow and for some reason
Right.
I saw it as red,
Yeah.
I have you know, I would probably go question, well, why am I seeing it as red?
Right.
You know, it's the same thing, just very generalized.
Yeah.
But you know, it's people get very nerved up that they're doing something wrong. And
Yeah.
in one sense, I understand you know, with movements and anybody who's part of a marginalized community, whether, you know, that's race or sexuality or
Yep.
gender expression, we see all the different, like, kind of spikes of it. And even for us, some of the, you know, the abruptness and the protesting and the loudness can be really jarring to us, because
Right.
it's you're still trying to process your own emotions. So I totally get it.
Yes.
But some people are uncomfortable with it.
Yes.
Let the discomfort just simmer
Right.
for a bit, and then
Right.
come back to the table.
Yeah.
But don't just run away.
Right. And I think, you know, especially in this day and age, I think there is no way to really run from this. There is only sticking our head in the sand. And I think the reality is, even that day is coming to an end. I think that the reality right now is that, you know, you said something about, like, you know, people are still processing their emotions and stuff like that. And my story was like, when all this stuff, you know, first happened with George Floyd. And honestly, I couldn't even look at the video for a couple of days. I saw that it was being circulated around, and I had known about what the story, you know, what the story was. But I couldn't bring myself to watch. I couldn't bring myself to watch it. And there were just so many emotions going on. Then I think after about like day 2 or 3, I watched the video, 8-9 minutes of like, this is insanity. And at that point, I had so many more emotions flood. And most people who know me know that I'm very upbeat. very positive thinking, very, would be kind of branded as an optimist, right? Very optimistic thinking. And so, but I was literally so angry, so frustrated, so, I could just feel bitterness like creeping into my heart. And for people who know me, that's just not a part of who I am. And so like, I had to make a very conscious decision to say, either I'm gonna let this, there's nothing wrong with those emotions in and of themselves, but until it started to, I felt like I was getting to the point where it was going to change the core and the fabric of who I was as a person. And at that point, I had a decision to make whether I wanted those emotions to change who I was at the core of who I am. So for me, I was like, yeah, no, I need to figure out how to process through this. And then I made a unfiltered video that I kind of put out on social media. And I was like, listen, this is just how I feel right now. And then after I did that, I felt better, but I was like, there's still something in there. And then that's how Be the Truth came to be. But it was, and it continues to be a very, an emotional roller coaster that I have to process through every day and figure out where I'm at and kind of gauge my own heart and emotions.
And and it must be even equally like, or doubly hard, I guess, when, you get these emotions. And I agree with you. I like to take, you can be triggered by a number of different things. And, when something happens and you just feel so angry because you can't do anything, and it's just, it's the same thing happening.
Yeah.
I like to put it into like, wait and use that energy in a constructive way
Right.
to try to make change.
Right.
But it must be doubly hard because then you're sat right now, especially in the United States and in California. Now you're sat, not only are you angry and you're trying to be constructive, but your access to things and resources that you normally would have are not there.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's got to be even more frustrating.
There's so many things, I think, that for sure, quarantine, being confined and seeming like in some ways the walls are closing in. It's not really getting better, so to speak. So that was really frustrating. But then I had, conversations with, because when you're in a confined space or an isolated space, you have time to think. And so not only am I thinking about, racial inequality and systematic racism and all that kind of stuff, but I'm also thinking about just, the intersections of my life, right? Where, not only am I a Black man, but I'm a queer Black man. And what that looks like and some of the issues that come with that. And then also the intersection of faith in all of that. And part of my story is that I was, raised in the church, evangelical church. And so like all of these things, and I used to be married to a woman. I have 2 kids. And all of these things just kind of weaving into, and as a parent, how do I teach my Black son that loves the police? Every time he sees a police car, he loves the police. And he's like, oh my God, there's so many different things so many different intersections that honestly, I just had space and time to think about that just have kind of contributed to, I think a soul searching, a deep kind of like, what do I want to say? What do I want to stand for? When this whole quarantine thing gets lifted, where is my my emotion, my skill, my passion? Where is that targeted to? Like, what do I want to say with my life? And so it's been an interesting time. It's been tough. It's been an emotional roller coaster, but it's been so clarifying to me personally. It's been such a, we talk about 2020 and I think about 2020 vision, right? It's been clarity to me. It has been, I see things at a different level than I have in times past. And so I'm grateful in that sense. But, it's been painful in some ways, for sure.
I think clarity is a really good word. I think there's a lot of clarity happening for people.
Yeah,
And you know, again, the emotions come with that, and it's for people to realize with clarity comes opportunity.
absolutely.
And what you choose to do with that opportunity is in your hands. It's up to
Right,
you.
right,
You can use that opportunity. You can squander the opportunity and say, "Yeah, I get it, but I just, you know, I can't." And I think
right.
what people also need to realize is that to be part of the process moving forward doesn't necessarily mean you have to
Yeah.
be in a crowd. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be, you know, out there. Again,
Hmm.
it comes right back to starting with yourself. What are the changes
Right.
that you make in your own day-to-day life, in your own thought process, in how you approach things that starts the change? You know,
Absolutely.
it can be something as simple as, you know, saying, I'm just going to make sure that I know. So I'm going to read.
Right.
And that is the starting point, if
Right.
anything.
Right. And I think what's so beautiful about this moment is that we all have um, a different starting point on this journey. But I think the biggest point is that we all acknowledge that we're on a journey when it comes to these particular topics, right? So yeah, like you said, for some people, it's just literally going to be, hey, how can I research? How can I study? How can I make myself more aware of what's happening? For other people, it's going to be, yo, I'm out in the streets, I'm marching, and I'm going to make my voice heard. In that way. For other people, it's going to be, you know, creating legislation and doing some things behind the scenes that maybe we all don't have access to be able to do. For me, this point was so crucial for me because, quite frankly, I felt the pressure of um, of being out in the streets marching, but also felt like that particular thing at that moment it didn't feel right and authentic to me. Not that I didn't appreciate the people that were out there and that I didn't see it as essential to furthering the conversation, because I do. I think that all the protesters that have been out there and continue to be out there, I think a beautiful thing. And I have participated in some of those marches later in my journey. But in the beginning, I needed to understand that there was something in my hands that I could do, in my skill set that I could do, that other people couldn't do, that were marching. And for me, it was writing a song. It was putting pen to paper. It was putting my voice on something and getting other people to come on board, getting other artists to be able to come on board so that we can say something, so that it can impact people in a different way, so that maybe it motivated the marcher that's already out there to keep marching and to keep going. And I thought about the songs that were written during the civil rights movement. I thought about, you know, the artists that put pen to paper in that moment and marked that period of time with music. And I want to be one of those artists that do the same thing.
And you know, and to that, there is like, so there's like yourself, and there's the Be the Truth,
Yeah.
which you have out, and then, you know, seeing Dan Crossley in the UK and pulling those artists together for the Survivors 2020
Yeah.
thing, and for different things, but it's still, it's music for change.
Right.
Bugs Gutta and the Pink Gorilla team
Yeah.
putting out Matters and really talking about Black trans
Yeah. Yeah.
lives,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
I remember that back in, you know, I talk about Live Aid all the time because Live Aid was a huge turning point for me, because it
Yeah.
showed me just how much music can change people, change perspective, and open things up.
Absolutely.
And at some point in time, we lost that.
Hmm.
And if there was ever a time that that's got to come back, and music really being at the forefront of these changes, and, you know, getting into people's ears, and the messages, you know,
Yeah.
it's now. I mean,
Yep.
it has to be now.
Has to be now. And I think more artists are waking up to that. I think that, one of the things that we're doing right now is I'm pulling together a bunch of people, because, here in the States we have an election coming up,
Yeah.
and this election for us is a really big deal. And so anyway, I basically decided that I wanted to, pull artists together. I wanted to, kind of go big. And I had this, I kind of thought back to Michael Jackson. I thought back to when he pulled together artists and he did We Are the World.
Yeah.
And so I got with my writing team and I was just like, listen, like I want to create this type of song. I told them what I wanted to do, blah, blah, blah. We got in the studio, we wrote this song. It's called Together. And I said, listen, I want 50 different solo artists to like jump on this. And because we got this kind of like choir in the background thing that's really cool, real powerful. And so we start putting our skill toward it. And so, yeah, pretty soon before this election in November, around the October time, we're going to put out a song that I'm really excited about, and we're gonna put visuals to it and stuff like that. And we're working with different influencers, and it's gonna be something powerful for sure.
I'm super excited by hearing that.
Yeah.
I think things like that, like again, movements, right?
Right.
People think a movement is only the placard. It's only
Right.
the screaming on the front lines. It's only
Right.
the challenging. Sometimes
Right.
movements are done in a very different way, and it's a healing movement, but
Absolutely.
it's a movement for change. And I always find music is like that. Coming together regardless of differences, and seeing the variety of life and how people approach things, all for all for one centered cause.
Right.
And it's typically change.
Right. Absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing and I really, want people to understand that is that like, whatever you feel, equipped or passionate about putting your hands to that you can do for this moment, just do it with everything that you have. And I think that's the only thing that we can do that's, authentic, right? Is what we have in our hands at this particular moment that we could somehow use to influence change, then let's do that 100%. And not compare ourselves. We have such a nasty habit of comparing ourselves to like, oh, well, this person is on the front lines and they're doing this, or, well, this person got shot with a rubber bullet. So, da-da-da, or this person, did a song and, well, I can't, it's like, let's stop comparing and let's just, for the common cause, do whatever we can and be super passionate about it and link up together and so that we can really, put our voices together to create something very powerful that will echo throughout eternity and that cannot be denied.
I think that, that competition or whatever it is that drives us is so destructive because it really distracts us.
It does.
From the actual thing that we should be doing.
Right.
It's like deflectors all over the place. It's like, well, I have to pay attention to all these things because all these people are doing these things. When meanwhile, what's sitting right in front of you, is what the direction we all need to kind of go in. Whoever's going there in whatever kind of way, who cares? Right. But we need to go there.
Exactly. And I think at this moment, the thing that's giving me encouragement is I think that, there's this awakening happening, and I think people are starting to get that point of just whatever's authentic to you as far as what you can use right now to affect change, do that thing. I think people are really waking up to that, and I'm excited about that. And I think that before we come out of this quarantine, I think this is a collective lesson that we need, and hopefully we take this into outside of this what I consider, and I'm not saying this just because it goes back to my song transformation, but I really feel like, but I really feel like this is a transformative moment. That this is not, to me, now this could be a little spooky, but to me, I just feel like this is not all by happenstance, right? Like I feel like that there's a collective lesson that we need to glean from this moment. There is a collective transformation that's happening. And even if you think about the butterfly, being wrapped up in that cocoon is a dark space. That cocoon is a tight space, a confined space, an isolated space. But in that space is where all of the transformation happens. That's where the caterpillar, evolves or transforms or you know, goes from caterpillar to butterfly, the beautiful butterfly that we, you know, see. And I think the reality is we will come out of this differently. The question is, you know, how different? What will exactly will that look like? But even when the butterfly breaks out of the cocoon, that all is giving strength to its wings to actually be able to fly. And I think the reality is we have an opportunity to do something so significant and to fly after this moment. But I do think that there's lessons that we need to grab onto collectively in order to fly in the moments to come.
I think the noise of the world has been quieted, like the external kind of stuff because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I look at people and I say, and I see that everybody's kind of going through their own transformation. This is a weird year for, like, a weird time for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not like there's something happening in the world and you're not affected. It seems like
Right.
everybody has something going on.
Absolutely.
And then you don't have the regularity of life to kind of distract you.
Right.
You are in this quiet space, and you know it is very transformative. And I think that you're right. I think that we're going to come out the other side. When that will happen, I don't know. What it will look like, I don't know.
Right.
But we're going to come out in a new norm, and it's not going to necessarily have to do just with social distancing. It's going to come out with a new mindset, I think.
Absolutely.
I think you have in your country, you know, the youth are so important because they you know, they need to kind of rise up. And I think that we've been seeing it year after year. And I think that you're right. This November is going to be like, I don't know. We'll be here in Canada kind of watching and with bated breath kind of saying, please. But if I have to say, and I mean, you know, not to talk about the elephant in the room, no pun intended.
Right. Exactly.
But in one sense, and I'm sure he would love to take credit for it.
Yeah.
You know, what's been happening there has been helpful in a way, because people are coming together, and people, you know, are siding together, and even people that you wouldn't expect are starting to come together. And I think that, you know, whenever you have, and I hate to use the word common enemy, but whenever you have a commonality like that, that people want to, you know, there's so much. Anyways.
It is. And I do just to lightly touch on that, but I do feel like, and I've told my friends, I'm like, you know, I absolutely 1000% disagree with everything that comes out of the man's mouth. But I do think that in a lot of ways, he's actually galvanized people who want equality, who want equity, who want civil rights, you know, like who want America to fulfill its promise, right? And so I think in a lot of ways, although this has been mind-blowing, I mean, like shocking, like you could have never told me that some of these things were gonna happen. I just would not have believed you. But I think it kind of has been a necessary evil to get us to wake up and say, you know, there's some things that we still need to deal with. There are some things that we still need to address, and it's time for us to wake up and do that.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I feel like it's happening.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, you have new music coming out, but you still have like your music that's there right now. First of all, I have to go back. So I was listening to your catalog and stuff, and I had heard it before, but I went back to California Magic.
Yeah.
Son, what a stomper. What a fantastic, and I don't know if anybody has, if you have fans and they have not heard that, shame. Man, you and TYB's in here, and I just talked to him last week, and I said kind of similar to him about how you're not afraid to go into different genres and into different places to get your music done.
Absolutely.
And wild.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny. First of all, California Magic was like my first single coming back out after a kind of a break. But California Magic, I absolutely love that song. It's like my child, you know. It's like, I don't know. I love that song. It kind of goes back to some of my roots. Love kind of like funk
Yeah.
and pop and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, love that song. I actually, because of your show, ended up talking to TYB, and we're gonna do some stuff together.
That is exciting.
Yeah, very, very, very excited about it. He's such a cool dude, and but anyway, yeah, like I'm really excited about California Magic. You know, have some plans in the works to revive that song actually, but Picture Perfect as well. That song actually went to the Billboard charts, and which was like
Stonebridge remix.
Stonebridge remix was
fire, 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 fire. Oh
yeah.
my God. It reminds me of, you know, I think back in terms of the 90s and stuff like that, when they used to have some really cool remixes. That's what it reminds me of. That people, you know, I think sometimes people get like, I don't know, they get caught up in their heads when they're doing remixes.
Right.
And they forget about the actual, you know, identity of the song.
Yeah.
That remix is so good. It's just like
Stonebridge. Oh, Stonebridge. I like legend. Like I loved working with him. And we were talking about doing some more stuff together, but he's amazing. Neo, there's a remix with him that came out a little bit after, but Neo, there are so many different cool people that were on there. Shaw Quentin, you know, it's kind of like a deep house type cut. There was some really cool stuff on there. And, you know, so there's definitely stuff to go back and listen to. But I'm really, really excited, too, about the fact that I'm working in the midst of all of, you know, this kind of like protest art and that kind of thing. I'm working on my EP, which I'm extremely excited about. Literally, I promise that this is going to be so epic. I am planning a visual album or a visual EP album right now, and literally it's just gonna be it. I promise.
well, I mean, Transformation alone, right?
Wow.
Is such a good song, and
Thank you.
kind of you dip into so many different places. Like there's bits of that funk that are in there,
Yeah.
but then there's also like I mean, yeah, house. There's elements of house in there. There's a little bit of a Motown sway kind of that creeps in there. Like there's a lot that's going on there that, you know, the song is quite layered like that.
Yeah.
But it gave me that song, and really going back, Picture Perfect and California Magic as well, it really gave me that nostalgia kind of feeling where I was kind of like, oh, what music kind of was, right?
Yeah.
Not that music today isn't good.
Right, right.
But for me, I like, there's elements of the past that I would never want to see die.
Yes.
That, you know, that R&B soul kind of bit from the 80s and the 90s, right?
Yep.
I think about, I don't even know who to go to, but like, I mean, I think about like back in the Johnny Gill days, right? And things like that. There's just some floor to the kind of just in the ground kind of sounds, and I love that.
Yeah. You know, I literally, some of my biggest influences as far as music is concerned, first of all, my musical influences are very eclectic, but when it comes to like funk and kind of soul and all that kind of stuff, some of my biggest influences were like the old school kind of, you know, folks. So, you know, I love Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
I love, you know, like, all of the funk centered, like, oh my gosh, like Earth, Wind and Fire, and like, you know, just all of those people who really, George Clinton, you know what I mean? Like, just that funk, like funkadelic kind of stuff. I love that kind of thing. Will always kind of be my natural. Also, grew up on R&B, right? Like 90s R&B, you know, like, you know, Brandy and Usher and, you know, those like real, like Music Soul Child was like kind of late 90s and early 2000s, but Music Soul Child and all that kind of stuff. So I always have an affinity for kind of, and then I grew up on gospel. So like, I mean, you know, there'll be times where that kind of stuff comes out too. But I remember my first time. So imagine, here's this, you know, little black boy, grew up in black gospel church. Dad would listen to, you know, funk and soul. And then I, you know, would sneak off and listen to like, you know, kind of 90s R&B. Well, so that was me until, you know, like about 18, 19, right? And then around that time is when I heard my first electronic music track, like, you know, house kind of track. And it was a Move for Me by Cascade.
Oh, yeah.
And I promise I flipped out. I was like, what is this kind of music? This is like the melodies and just the way that they produce the vocals are very airy and just beautiful, angelic, almost cinematic type of vocals. And so I fell in love with that and then kind of discovered a whole new, you know, so anyway, combining all those things has been fun.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of add to that, because you were just kind of saying I was, you know, rarely do I hear things on the radio that and I listen to satellite radio all the time.
Yeah.
But I really kind of I want to hear, because I mean they're playing lots of different things. But yeah. I hit upon a set and it was just like back to back, because it started out and I turned on the radio, I turned on the station, and it was Mr. Wendell by Arrested Development.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and people forget about those bands like that, like, you know, the Tonys,
yes.
Those R&B, but, you know, movement. When I think about the Fugees, and I think about, like, you know, Lauryn Hill's album.
Absolutely.
And when you think about it wasn't just, and I said, you know, sometimes we're too young to really appreciate. Yeah. Until you get older and you go back and you listen to it.
You're like, what?
Because like, oh yeah, we like to dance to, but what were we missing? We were completely missing the point on so many things.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think too, so even Tony, so my cousin used to play for Tony. Oh. Yeah, and so like, so a part of it too is like the musical background that I come from is that my great aunt, she was the original singer of the 60s hit Oh Happy Day. Oh. So she was like 19, 20 when she recorded that song. And you know, that song has, you know, been in a ton of movies. Obviously Sister Act was
pretty iconic.
You know, yeah. So she was that's my great aunt. So she did that whole thing when she was young. Then my cousin, who's a guitar player, he played guitars for Prince. And so he was in the whole Purple Rain thing. And he, you know, there's literally iconic pictures with Prince and him, like, you know, doing this whole thing. So that was kind of like my frame of like, when you do music actually can have a profound impact on the world. Yeah. And so I've always kind of had this thing of like, if I do music, I want it to be fun for sure, but I also want it to have this deep and profound impact, and I want to say something. I've always been kind of like, I don't want to be that artist that kind of is like, I'm making the hit of the moment, which is cool, and I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that's not for me particularly. That I don't necessarily just want to make the hit for the moment. I don't want to make something that outlasts my lifetime. I want to make something that when my kids have kids, people are still talking about, yo, when Gattison did da 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 da, yo, that's my song. Like, that helped me get through something, or that had such an impact. So that's kind of where my lane is and what I'm trying to do and reflect in my music.
And I think too, as an artist with you know, a different kind, your life experience, as you kind of talked us through, it brings you to places, right? And I think that's how the world, the industry, whatever, sells artists you know, especially young artists, an ideal
Right.
of what to shoot for.
Right.
And you know, it's kind of like until you kind of get through it and you've been through, you know, the rapids a little bit to kind of have some knocks and to kind of come
Yeah.
up against things. You do think that is the goal, right?
Right.
A lot of the times. So I understand where that kind of comes from, but yeah,
Yeah.
and then that again, that clarity to kind of go back to as you
Yeah.
as you age, as you get experience,
Mm-hmm.
dad, kids,
Right.
change in life, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that ideal that is kind of sold and peddled at the beginning is so far beyond you because the world is so very different. You're looking at it from some completely different eyes than when you were like 17.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which is, and, you know, again, it's not to knock anybody or to be like, you know, if you do that, then you're not significant. That's not my heart. But to say that, like you're saying, like, you know, for me particularly, and I don't know if I've always kind of had this kind of, and I think it may come down to my personality too. It's like when people get to know me personally, it's like if I'm gonna do something, I'm always gonna do it big. Like there's just something inside of me that knows, and I don't want this to come off cocky because it's not cocky, but there is a confidence inside of me. There's an assurance of who I am, and so there's this thing of like, if I'm gonna do something, I want to do something big, and I want to do it. I want it to have a significant impact on the world. And there was just something that's always known that was my path. And you know, I think part of it too was back in the day, I would see these videos of my great aunts and uncles touring around the world in the 70s and 80s, and these hippies were like dancing to their songs, and they were significant. The songs were significant, like "Oh Happy Day." I mean, that's a significant message. Not, and I don't know how much you know, obviously we evolve on how we would message things, but it was a significant message for that moment. And to have hippies like smoking and dancing to it was like, yo, you can have something that's significant and fun. And that's always been my goal and my aim. And so, you know, we're still working it out.
I think with self-awareness comes confidence, and I don't think confidence is cocky. I think you know, it's not arrogance. It's just that you know who you are,
right?
And you know, sometimes we achieve that earlier than most, and sometimes we achieve it later. But like, I think that you have a really great self-awareness of that, and I think that, you know, especially for your music and your craft and your art, you're like, this. I know who I am.
Yeah. For
and
sure.
I'm okay to try different things, but I know who I am. If I'm going to put something out, it's gonna. I always say that I need to work with purpose.
Absolutely.
There has to be purpose in my work, you know, or else I feel like I'm, you know, it's kind of like painting over the wall, continuously painting over the wall, right? Like, why are you continuously painting over the wall? It's not really changing the wall.
Yes.
So it's for me, purpose is really important, and it seems like it is for you too.
Yes, absolutely, definitely, and I think that everything that has happened that we've already talked about has only reassured my belief in that purpose. It's only, you know, solidified those things. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm really excited for everything that's coming, everything that's happening. It's a beautiful journey, you know. Yeah, it's not always easy, but it's a beautiful journey.
How's it going to roll out? What are we expecting to see?
Honestly, I'm so excited. I have literally been in the studio just all the time, writing songs, writing with different songwriters, super excited about the songs that are coming out. But what you can expect from me is another collaborative project. The song I was telling you about, called Together, around the October time. We haven't set a date yet, but around that time, before the United States election, we will put out a song, me and a collective of artists. We will put out a song called Together, and I'm very, very excited about this song. The song is in my opinion, it's just, and I say this about all my songs, it's my baby, you know, it's my baby. No, but we put so much heart into it. Work with two other songwriters who are brilliant, and we had this whole thing come together. But anyway, so that's coming in October. All the while, I'm going to be releasing another holiday special. So I'm excited about releasing something for the holidays. Christmas, if you do not know me, Christmas is like everything to me. And I love that. Yeah. Christmas music starts as soon as the Halloween decorations come out. I'm like, this is it. I don't care. I am that guy. It is what it is. And I'm completely satisfied throughout all of the, October, November, and December to completely, play Mariah Carey over and over and over again. It's totally fine with me. So
I have a sickness when it comes to decorations.
Yes, it's awesome.
I am that Chevy Chase guy from, or I want to be.
Right. Yeah.
And when it comes to that single, like, remember, and I'm putting it down here so it's live and out into the world, whatever you need, like, in terms of support on things like that. I think it's really important that, outlets, like myself and whoever else that's out there, I think we are all in this together. It's not about your country. It's not about, like, the music that you like. It's about the fact that there's change and it's important. And it's really important for us to support these kinds of movements. You may not be able to be on the front line. This is what I say to people, but there are things that you can do. There are ways to share things. There are ways to get messages out and movements to move things forward. So
absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I think that, with everything going on, if you are not in the States, please, we can use all the good energy. We can use all of the good intentions. We can use all the prayers, the meditation, whatever you do, please send it our way. We really need it in this moment. And I'm hoping to, add whatever I can and partner with all these artists to add whatever we can to raise awareness, to get people to register and to vote, and to make our voices heard and to come together.
Almost on every single message, like post that I put out, you'll notice that it'll have a script, and I put that in there. I was just like, if anything, this has to be a continuous message. Absolutely. And it is about, like, how to donate to Black Lives Movement, but at the bottom of it also says, if you are a U.S. citizen and you have not yet registered to vote, here is the link. Go register to vote. And I think that it's just a message that has to be constant.
Yep, absolutely. And I think I think that we are getting it. I think that it's almost too, if you're in the States, it's almost too uncomfortable not to land somewhere. And so I am looking forward to this election season. I do think that we've been through enough to finally wake up and be like, oh, okay, that's not good. So I am confident in this election season. I think we're in the right space. So,
well, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Our time kind of gets cut off after so long, so I don't want you to be cut off in the middle of this. So I want to thank you for kind of coming in here and talking with me and sharing so much of what's going on in your story and that. And I'm so excited by it. And I swear to God, people, you need to go to the back catalog. You need to go to that starting point with California Magic. You gotta. So but thank you so much. And
thank you.
I don't want this to be the last one, because I'm so excited to see what comes next. So
we'll definitely stay in contact and all that kind of stuff, and I definitely will keep you posted on the rollout of this other stuff. But thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you opening up your platform for me, and I tune in to all the other interviews too, because I love seeing your interviews and seeing these different artists. It's a beautiful thing.
There's so much to be said. There's so our artists from our community have not been given opportunities.
Right.
whether it's because they're queer or Black or
Yep.
trans,
Yep.
they need the space to be
Absolutely.
able to speak, and they need to be able to tell their stories. And I think it's incredibly important. And if we don't have that, if we don't do more of that,
Right.
you
Right.
know, just we're not pushing things forward. So they
Yeah.
need to have that space.
Yeah, and I'm definitely one of those types of people. You know, like I said, I saw you know, TYB on, you know, this interview, and I reached out to him because I was like, yo, I really like him. I think he's great. And that happened on another platform where, you know, somebody was, you know, promoting queer artists, and I saw a queer, I'm like, yo, like, come on, let's work together, because I have this passion really to, you know, come together. And I really do believe that when we come together, we actually are better, and we can amplify our voices and be heard. And there's so much talent that, you know, it doesn't matter if you have, you know, thousands of followers or not. The reality is, if you're a good artist, your art speaks for itself. And so, you know, I'm into collaboration for sure. So I'm always staying tuned to what you're doing, because, you know, you're breaking the good stuff.
There's more coming. There's more coming.
It's good.
All right. Listen, I'm going to return you back to your life in sunny California.
Yes.
Where it is like 5. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
quarter after
5:13.
5. So it's dinner time. It's time to eat.
It is. It is.
All right. We will talk soon. And
Cool.
for those of you who are out there who are watching this, go check out Gattison on all streaming platforms. Transformation's out right now. Also check him out online and go find his video for Be the Truth. Watch that, share it with people, introduce people to it. If they don't understand what it's about, give them a book and ask them to read.
Yes. Yes.
Don't do the work for them.
Nope.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.